What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk to you about the different types of dog and cat food, from the type that's like the bag dry kibble to the canned, all the way to the higher quality raw. We're going to tell you a simple version of how each is made and the pros and cons, and we'll dive deep in now. So we'll start with the lowest quality would be the dry kibble. Take the rendered meat meals, so it's kind of like a meat powder, and then grains, vegetables, and then supplements, and they mix them into a dough. And then they take the dough and they push it through a high heat extruder, high heat pressure cooker. And then it's puffed into shape and it's baked and dried at the higher temps. Then after that process, they coat it with some fast flavors and vitamins. And the positives they do this is it's long shelf life, it's consistent, convenient and cheap, and because there's no moisture in it, it prevents spoilage. But I would not recommend feeding this to your blue tongue skink. Next is the canned dog food, which would be the mid grade in this one. And how that is basically this one actually has mostly fresh meat. Then they have some water and broth, and depending on the type, they'll have grains or just vegetables. And it's all mixed together, and they put it in the can and pouches that you get it in. And then they cook it in a giant pressure cooker in the can, so the moisture's locked in the can, and it's cooked at a significantly lower heat than the dry kibble, being a lot of the more natural ingredients and natural nutrients. It has the high moisture, and it actually has fresh real meat, and it's often higher in protein and lower carb than the kibble. So this is why this is pretty staple for blue tongue skinks throughout the years. It's easy for digestion, hydration, good for picky eaters. It's pretty well balanced, and you could even freeze it in an ice cube tray. Much waste or spoilage, even if you have one or two blue tongues. Some of the real only negatives that you might want to watch for is they do use thickeners. One of them is guar gum, and that's very common, and I've never had any issues with that one. Now, another one that can cause issues in other animals is carrageenan. I've never heard of it causing issues in blue tongue skinks, but just for be on the safe side, you could just go with ones that have just the guar gum. Lastly, it would be like the highest quality would be the raw dog food. You have to be careful when it being the highest quality, because if you make it at home and it's severely lacking something, then you lose that quality. The stuff you see packaged at like stores or online, fish meats, bones, organs, and depending on the type, they add vegetables, and they put it through a meat grinder. Either they'll grind it a couple different times or use different sized blades. Then, they freeze it in the patties or the 1 pound blocks and nuggets. And then, or there's another type, which is the freeze dried version, which I don't really like for blue tongues because it has no moisture. It still has the good quality nutrients, and you can hydrate it. Usually the normal raw frozen is a lot better quality. It has the natural enzymes intact. You don't lose the omega-3s like you do with the dry food. Very high moisture. It's higher quality. It's actually human grade food, closest to biological diet that was made for dogs. And Taylor, right? It's not going to be the natural diet of blue tongues 100%. They would have a little more insect in the wild. Lastly, one of the other negatives to raw is it is a little more expensive than the can. That's why a lot choose that. You got to freeze it, and you have to handle it like you do normal raw meat. You could use gloves. You want to wash up after you're done. Use soap, clean the counter, stuff like that. So if you're severely immune compromised, it might be best to do more of the canned stuff. End of the day, whatever type you choose, you're going to want to tailor the ingredients for your blue tongue skink. we like to limit the fish and spinach, potatoes, grains. Pros and cons to that will say some people like to do it here and there. A lot of times it's filler though, so it's not usually as good a quality. End of the day, it's not gonna usually hurt your blue tongue, but we try to limit it. Same thing with other stuff that limits the digesting of calcium, like spinach is high in phosphorus. At the end of the day, you're going to want to make sure you add calcium as needed and your multivitamin because a lot of these are tailored to dogs. Might have to choose wisely and add calcium here and there. But I hope this was helpful for you guys to learn more. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe.